Behind the perfect walls of that mansion, a secret grew silently, and no one imagined that it would be a child of only 3 years old who would reveal the most powerful truth in that house. When the millionaire installed cameras in every room to monitor the new nanny, believing he would discover flaws, oversights, or any reason to fire her, what he saw was nothing of the sort. One quiet morning, while reviewing the recordings, his heart almost stopped when he saw his son running through the living room and doing something he never expected. A gesture so pure, so unexpected, and so transformative that it made the man realize that no amount of money can buy true affection. And it was precisely there, before an image that changed everything, that he understood that that nanny, the woman he suspected, was the only person his son saw, not as an employee, but as family. Before we delve into this amazing story, tell me which city and state you're watching from. Leave a comment and I'll reply with gratitude. And while you're at it, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and like this video. We want to share more stories like this. The millionaire walked through the immense corridors of his own mansion like someone who knew exactly where he was stepping, but no longer knew who he really was within that vast space. He had built everything he possessed with discipline, strategy, and an almost unwavering belief that trust was too expensive a luxury. After being betrayed by partners, deceived by close friends, and even manipulated by people who swore eternal loyalty, he had developed a habit, never trusting anyone at first sight. And when it came to his son, this protective instinct doubled in intensity. Therefore, when the new nanny arrived, a simple woman with discreet clothes, a shy smile, and a respectful demeanor, he immediately felt something he didn't like: vulnerability. The 3-year-old boy had become attached to her too quickly, to a degree that made him uneasy. He watched through the bedroom door the scene of them together, she kneeling on the rug, playing with toy cars, the boy laughing loudly, confident, illuminated in a way that his own father couldn't make happen. And this truth hurt more than he admitted. The boy's pure love for the nanny seemed to grow stronger each day, as if she were a piece of light that had silently entered the routine of that large, cold house. And the millionaire, however much he tried not to admit it, felt jealous, as if that simple woman were taking a place that should have been his. It was because of this mix of insecurity, distrust, and an almost obsessive need for control that he made the decision that would change everything: installing cameras in every room. It wasn't just surveillance. It was an attempt to regain control over an emotional territory he felt he was losing. He had discreet, hidden cameras installed with perfect angles to capture every detail. His justification to himself was simple: I'm protecting my son. But deep down, a part of him knew he was looking for something to blame, something to justify the discomfort he felt, seeing his son prefer the nanny's lap to his own. The workers installed the equipment in a few hours. Everything was connected to his cell phone and computer. Now he could see everything, every gesture, every smile, every word. A feeling of power flooded his chest, but also a shadow of doubt, as if he intuitively knew he was about to discover something that could turn his world upside down. On the first day, he spent much of his work opening and closing the monitoring app. He watched the nanny cleaning the kitchen while the boy chased after her with a cloth in an innocent attempt to imitate her. It irritated him for no reason. Why does he copy her? Why doesn't he imitate me like that? He muttered to himself while trying to focus on the reports on the table. On the screen, the nanny stopped what she was doing to tie the boy's shoelace, then picked him up when he stumbled and kissed his little scrape on the forehead. The boy smiled with half-closed eyes, confident, comforted. That's normal, isn't it? It's just care, he repeated to himself, as if trying to convince himself. But his chest ached in a strange way. It wasn't romantic jealousy. It was something deeper, more primal, as if the boy were finding emotional comfort in someone who wasn't him. And that that destabilized him in ways he couldn't explain. On the second day, he returned home early without warning. Opening the app in the car, he saw the nanny dancing with the boy in the middle of the living room, carefully spinning him around while he laughed so loudly it seemed to fill every corner of that once silent house. She lifted him as if he were as light as the wind, and the boy buried his face in her neck with absolute trust. The millionaire gripped his phone tightly, his jaw clenched. It's impossible that he got so attached so quickly, he thought, struggling to control a feeling he could barely name. He entered the house suddenly, and the nanny, seeing him, froze for a second. The boy ran to his father, but something in the child's manner betrayed a truth. He hugged him affectionately, yes, but not with the same enthusiasm he showed in her arms. It was a polite, gentle affection, trying to fill an incomplete space. And that hit the millionaire like an emotional punch. It was on the third day that the tension reached its peak. From early on, he felt something different in the air, an unease he didn't know where it came from. He spent the entire day compulsively watching the cameras. Every gesture of the nanny was analyzed as if he were looking for proof of something wrong, anything that would justify the discomfort he felt. But all he saw was care, affection, patience, love, things he didn't know how to handle because they had disappeared from his life years ago. That night, already exhausted, he sat in the dark office of the mansion and opened the recording of the last few hours, determined to watch everything until he found some flaw. But instead, he found something that made his heart stop for a moment. On the screen, the boy appeared walking around the room, holding a drawing. He called the nanny with the sweet way only small children have, and she crouched down to his level. He showed her the colorful paper, full of scribbles that only made sense to a child. She smiled, her face lit up with such genuine affection that it shone through the screen. He turned the drawing towards the camera, and that's when the millionaire almost dropped the phone. The drawing was simple, childlike but devastating. 3 figures holding hands, one tall, one medium, and one short. Below, in crooked writing, it said, "Me, Dad, and Mom." But that wasn't his mother. That was the nanny. The millionaire felt the world spin. He felt a lump rise in his throat. He felt his chest burn. The boy had silently drawn the family he longed for. A family where the nanny occupied the place that should have belonged to his dead mother, a place he never knew how to fill. And in that instant, the millionaire realized a truth that struck him like a silent lightning bolt. The boy didn't see the nanny as an employee. He saw her as family. And that not only shocked him, it transformed something within him, and unknowingly, this would only be the first impact of what he was about to discover. The millionaire stared at the screen as if it had been ripped from his own body, unable to fully process what he was seeing. The video cursor kept moving forward, but he couldn't take his eyes off the drawing. It was as if that childish scribble had torn an invisible veil within him, revealing an old wound he pretended didn't exist. Since his wife's death, he had tried to compensate for everything with money, routine, security, and emotional distance, as if being strong meant not feeling. He had built walls where he should have built bridges, and because of that, he hadn't realized that his son was growing up alone beside him, filling the maternal absence with any source of affection he could find. Seeing the nanny in the drawing, he felt a mixture of shock, guilt, sadness, and jealousy, something so intense that he had to hold his breath to avoid collapsing. The boy wasn't replacing his mother's memory with another woman. He was trying to fill the void with someone who hugged him, cared for him, loved him without demanding anything in return. A presence that he himself, with all his wealth, could never be because he was afraid of becoming attached and losing her again. And to think that he had installed cameras trying to prove that she wasn't trustworthy, when in reality, it was he who didn't know how to trust anyone. As the video continued, the nanny affectionately called the boy over, asking him to put away the drawing to show his father. The boy replied with childlike sincerity, "Daddy doesn't like to play with me when he's sad." These words struck the millionaire like a silent stab. He recoiled in his chair, put his hand to his mouth, and let the emotional weight crush him from the inside. His son saw sadness, coldness, absence in him, and he, blinded by his own trauma, had no idea that he was unintentionally hurting the child. The nanny, unaware she was being filmed, replied sweetly, "Your daddy loves you very much, my angel. He just keeps so much bottled up inside and forgets to let his heart breathe." Hearing this, the millionaire felt the tears finally break through a dam he had held back for years. They were raw, hot tears, not of anger, but of shock and recognition. She understood her son. She understood him. She saw what no one else saw. And him? What did he see in her? A threat, an intruder, just an ordinary employee. The weight of injustice fell upon him like an avalanche. Determined to keep watching, he fast-forwarded a few more minutes in the video. The boy was playing on the rug when he stopped, fell silent, and suddenly hugged the nanny in that spontaneous way only children have. He rested his head in her lap and stayed there, saying nothing. The nanny ran her hand through his hair with almost maternal care, unaware that this small gesture was the healing the boy had been seeking since losing his mother. After a few seconds, the boy lifted his face and said, "Why do you take care of me, even when I'm messy?" She laughed softly with a loving glint in her eyes and replied, "Because you deserve love, even on the days you mess everything up." The phrase echoed in the millionaire's mind like a revelation. He realized he had never said that to his son or anything similar. He always corrected his behavior, always gave instructions, always tried to maintain control. He was protective but not present. He was caring but not affectionate, and now for the first time he understood how much this had cost his son's heart. In another scene, the boy ran into the hallway and tripped, falling to the floor. The millionaire, who had already seen thousands of falls in previous videos, would hardly blink at such a scene. But this one was different. The boy didn't cry loudly, didn't make a fuss. He just sat on the floor with a blank stare, holding his knee. The nanny ran to him, knelt on the floor and asked, "Did it hurt a lot?" He shook his head negatively, but there was sadness, not pain, in his eyes. She then held the boy's face in her hands and asked, "Does it hurt here or here?" touching his knee first and then his chest. The boy placed his little hand on his chest and murmured, "Here, because I wanted Mommy to see me run." The millionaire felt the air leave his body as if he had been brutally punched. He knew that pain well, the absence of someone irreplaceable. The nanny hugged him tightly, allowing him to cry softly on her shoulder. There weren't enough cameras in the world capable of capturing the emotional impact that had on the father. He realized it wasn't her who had taken the mother's place. It was the boy who was silently begging for a hug he couldn't have. Then something even more surprising happened. The boy stood up, wiped away his tears, and cupped the nanny's face in his little hands, looking directly into her eyes with an almost sacred purity. And he said the phrase that changed everything. "You are my safe haven." The millionaire brought his hand to his mouth to stifle a sob that escaped involuntarily. He had never heard anything so strong, so intense, so true, coming from his own son. The nanny was speechless for a few seconds, visibly moved. She didn't say anything grand. She just pulled the boy into a tight hug, the kind that mends cracks no one sees. But for the millionaire, that was more transformative than any speech. His son had found emotional security in another person, not because she tried to replace him, but because he had drifted too far away. The nanny's love didn't diminish his. It simply filled the space he himself had left empty. The recording continued, revealing even more layers. In one scene, the nanny stopped the boy from trying to climb the ladder alone and patiently explained, "I promise that one day you'll climb all the way up by yourself, but right now I still need to take care of you." The boy laughed and replied, "But who takes care of your heart?" She sighed deeply, and the millionaire realized there was pain there too. "It's kind of broken," she said, thinking no one would hear. The millionaire stared at the screen, intrigued. Who had broken that heart? What story did she carry? Why did someone so loving seem to live with so much silence inside? For the first time, he wanted to know more, not as a boss, not as a suspicious person, but as someone who recognized himself in the other's pain. When the video ended, the millionaire was broken inside. He felt the weight of his own flaws, his son's innocence, the nanny's generosity, and the delicate bond that had formed between them. He rose from his chair with a purpose he hadn't had before, not anger nor distrust. It was a need for truth. He opened the office door and walked to the room where she kept the toys. He stopped at the door. She was facing away, arranging the children's books on the shelf. The boy slept on the sofa like a small, exhausted angel. The millionaire took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the words he needed to say. And he knew that this moment, this conversation, this truth that was about to be revealed, would change the destiny of all three forever. Top of form, bottom of the form. He stood there for long seconds, observing the scene with an intensity that almost hurt. The nanny carefully arranged the toys, aligning each piece as if that small gesture were a silent ritual to keep the child's life in order. There was delicacy in every movement of hers, a delicacy he had never seen so clearly until watching the recordings. The boy slept soundly on the sofa, his face serene, his fingers still slightly closed, as if holding a piece of a dream. It was such a pure image that the millionaire felt his heart clench. He took a deep breath, trying to alleviate the emotional wave that insisted on overflowing, but he couldn't. He entered the room slowly, and the discreet sound of his footsteps made the nanny turn around, startled. Her eyes widened when she saw him there, standing, serious, with a look she had never seen before. It wasn't coldness, it wasn't distrust, it was something vulnerable, broken, human. "We need to talk," he said, his voice low but firm. She swallowed hard, feeling a chill run down her spine. Her heart began to beat faster, not because she believed she had done something wrong, but because she sensed that this conversation would open doors she feared to cross. She nodded slowly, setting the toys down on the table and resting her hands on each other, as if seeking support within herself. He walked to the sofa, looked at his sleeping son, and his gaze softened for a moment. He lightly touched the child's hair, a gesture that revealed a deep love, but also an even deeper guilt. "I watched the recordings," he began. She turned pale instantly, and the air seemed to leave the room. "Sir, I would never hurt your son," she tried to say, but her voice faltered, overcome by the fear of losing her job, the boy, the only routine that brought her peace. He raised his hand, asking for silence. It wasn't a rude gesture, but an urgent one. "I know," he replied, surprising her. "I saw everything. I saw how you take care of him, how you talk to him, how you welcome him, just like I should have done." Her eyes widened in confusion. He had never spoken like that before, vulnerable, open, almost broken. "I saw the cartoon," he continued, pulling his phone from his pocket and showing the frozen image on the screen. The children's cartoon with me, Daddy, and Mommy. The nanny's face fell apart. She brought her hand to her mouth, tears instantly welling up. He showed me, but I said no," she whispered desperately. "I said I wasn't his mother, that she was irreplaceable." The sincerity in her voice struck him like a silent embrace. "I know," he said, sitting down on the sofa next to the boy. "And that's what hurt me the most. I looked for a mistake that never existed. and I found my own. The nanny took a deep breath, feeling her chest tremble under the intensity of the emotions she had always kept under control. He continued, now looking directly at her. My son loves you. He found in you something I couldn't give him. And He hesitated, a huge confession stuck in his throat. I treated you like a threat, when in reality you were the only person who gave my son what he needed most: emotional security. She didn't answer. She just cried softly, silently, like someone carrying much more than it seemed. He approached slowly, respectful but determined. Why did you say your heart was broken? He asked, remembering the recording. The nanny closed her eyes for a second, trying to hold back tears. When she spoke, her voice was choked but clear. Because I lost a son, she confessed. 2 years ago, an accident. I never fully recovered. Working here, taking care of him. She looked at the sleeping boy, gave me a reason to get out of bed every day. The millionaire brought his hand to his face, overcome with emotion. The final piece of the puzzle had been revealed. Now everything made sense. The way she hugged him, how she comforted him, how she understood the boy's pain. It was because she knew that pain. She had lived through the same emptiness. He felt a wave of compassion so intense that it almost made him kneel before her. I'm so sorry, she said with absolute sincerity. I didn't know. Nobody knows, she replied, wiping her face quickly. I don't like talking about it. He then did something he had never done before. He approached her with genuine emotion and said in a firm voice, You don't need to hide anything anymore. Not from me. The silence that followed was dense, transformative. She took a deep breath, looking at him as if seeing him for the first time, not as a boss, but as a man. A wounded, lonely man, trying to get it right after many mistakes. On the sofa, the boy began to stir. The nanny rushed to him, sat down beside him, and gently placed her hand on his chest. He slowly opened his eyes, and upon seeing her, smiled instantly. She returned the smile, a smile that lit up any room. You fell asleep, my love, she said. The boy looked at his father, then at her, and asked with pure innocence, Are we a family? The millionaire felt his heart stop for a second. He knelt beside the two and replied with honesty that came from the depths of his soul, We can be, if you want. The boy smiled, hugging them both at the same time. The nanny closed her eyes, feeling her heart finally breathe after years of being held captive. And in that tight embrace, where 3 pains met and 3 souls recognized each other, something happened. A new kind of family was born. Not built on blood, nor on papers, but on truth, healing, and love. In the days that followed, the house ceased to be cold. The millionaire began to participate more. He learned to play, to listen, to be present. The nanny continued to be the boy's safe haven, but now she was also the heart that healed the man. Months later, on a sunny morning, the millionaire held her hand in the kitchen and said with a new, vibrant smile, I installed cameras to monitor you. She laughed, crossing her arms. I know. But what I saw, he finished, drawing closer, taught me that the greatest wealth I've ever possessed is right here. He touched her chest gently. She smiled with tears in her eyes and replied, And my safe heart. I found it here. The boy ran into the kitchen, hugging them both at the same time, and just like that, in a way that was as simple as it was powerful, that house finally ceased to be just a mansion. It became a home built not on distrust, but on love. And that was the biggest twist that no one could ever have imagined.